The Sinister Cult of the Forest, 7 haunting tales of unexplained terror exposed in the wilderness. Lucy glanced back at the old cabin, its weathered wood nearly swallowed by the hungry embrace of the forest. She felt unsettled, as if the trees had ears, watching, waiting. A ghostly chill fluttered through her, warning her of horror lurking just beyond the sunshine that bathed the clearing. The peace she craved settled like a storm cloud on her heart, whispering secrets as shadows slithered between the branches. The woods were alive, yet eerily silent. They resembled a cemetery of the forgotten, dispatches of dread that tingled ominously beneath her skin. Hushed voices flitted around her, mocking her solitude. The keeper, they murmured, a name that rippled like water through conversations, drawing shivers from friends who dared share tales of the unknown. Tales her child, Jake, dismissed with a laugh, yet the tension morphed between them, casting an invisible barrier when she tried to share her worries. "Mom, it's just trees and dirt," Jake said, his frustration bordering on disbelief as he scuffed the ground. "You're freaking yourself out." But then came unsettling nights where the howls of coyotes transformed into the low, persuasive hum of an ancient lullaby. Lucy would lie awake, the haunting melody knitting despair in her gut, while the symbols carved into the trees a warped language gnawed at her mind. Each symbol felt accusatory, like the eyes of people from town piercing her soul, spreading strange rumors that were darts in the night. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days bled into weeks, and Jake prowled farther into the woods each time, entranced by whispers and rumors of wild parties echoing with celebration. One gray afternoon, he stumbled upon an old locket buried beneath a damp leaf carpet. Upon revealing its tarnished surface, he found inside the faded image of his grandfather, a figure shrouded in mystery who vanished before his birth. The chill that clutched at him was accompanied by an uneasy silence that stretched, heavy and suffocating. Fear twisted inside Lucy. As residents talked in hushed tones, shadows flickered in the corners of her eyes. Blood Moon Festival. The whispers crept into her dreams, telling stories of sacrifices and lost souls led by the elusive keeper, a name that now seemed to dance in the dark. She became a ghost among the living, observing with wary eyes. Jake scoffed at her fears, yet the air thickened and everything felt wrong. The night of the festival came, dressed in foreboding elegance. The sky bled crimson as Jake slipped out into the gathering crowd, drawn by the pulsating beat of unknown rhythms. Lucy's heart raced, dread seeping into her veins. When he didn't return, the forest morphed from tranquil to treacherous, a maze of shadows. She sprinted into the thicket, fear outrunning reason, calling Jake's name, each echo a prayer swallowed by the sinister hush. Lucy stumbled into a clearing glowing with the unholy light of the blood moon. The same symbols that had plagued her now surrounded her in menacing acknowledgement. Something beckoned for Jake from within the dark, something waiting, something wicked. As silence slammed around her like a door closing, she felt them, the eyes of the forest turning her way. She was not alone. Something was hunting them, and the truth she'd tried to ignore closed in like a noose. The keeper was close. And he wanted Jake. The moment Lucy stepped into that clearing, dread cascaded over her, thick as fog. The moonlight fractured through the trees, throwing flickering shadows that danced as if alive. Her breath quickened, heart pounding a frantic rhythm that drowned out all other sounds. "Jake!" She screamed again, her voice splintering the unnatural quiet. The woods swallowed her cries, leaving her feeling smaller, more vulnerable. Pulling back her hair, she struggled to focus. The symbols carved deep into the bark glowed faintly, each one a tether to something ancient and malevolent. Panic clawed at her throat as she recalled the warnings of the townsfolk, the keeper, the blood moon sacrifices. Each word ghosted through her mind, growing louder, a cacophony that drowned out reason. "Lucy!" A voice broke through the darkness, and she flinched. Chills rippled down her spine. "It wasn't Jake." "Who is there?" she demanded, trembling yet determined. Silence hung in the air until a stranger emerged from the gloom. Clad in robes that glimmered like starlight, his face masked, eyes glinting with an unsettling intelligence. He held out a hand, beckoning her closer. "You seek the boy?" The question hovered ominously, and confusion tangled with her fear. Where is he? What have you done? The robed figure tilted his head, amusement playing in his eyes. He is one of us now, part of the cycle. Lucy's stomach twisted. Join us, he continued, his voice silky smooth like syrup. Embrace what is meant to be. A shriek of horror filled her lungs, but the sound remained lodged in her throat. The eyes, those countless eyes, watched from the trees, glowing in the dark. She could feel it, the pressure of something immense, an unshakable force eager to wrap its grip around her mind. Memories of Jake's laugh, the warmth of his embrace, flickered like dying embers in her heart. She wasn't ready to lose him. I will fight, she breathed instead, each word a shield against despair. His laughter echoed off the trees, the sound sharp and cold. Fight against what you cannot comprehend? It is futile. Before she could respond, the air shimmered, twisting like heat waves. Lucy staggered back, adrenaline flooding her system as the ground trembled beneath her. In that moment, she felt it, a ripple of energy, a current tugging at her feet. Then she heard a thick rustle behind her. Jake! Panic surged anew, and she turned to the shadows. Jake! Please, come back! Eager for his safety, she plunged into the thicket, branches snapping underfoot. The woods twisted impossibly, trees shifting, blocking her path, burying her deeper in their embrace. The oppressive weight of the forest loomed heavier, and a cold sweat trickled down her spine. Just when hope began to falter, she spotted him, the silhouette of Jake. But something was wrong. His head hung low, as if in a trance, his body moving without purpose. Jake! She cried, dread tightening around her throat as she sprinted, closing the gap. Snap out of it! He turned slowly, an unsettling smile gracing his lips, yet his eyes a void, missing that spark she cherished. Mom, it's beautiful here. Time froze. The forest echoed his words, breathing life into them, promising impossible wonders. Horror splayed across Lucy's chest. Something had stolen him. No! Jake! She shouted, desperation gripping her like a vice. But her cries were lost, swept away as the shadows encroached. The ethereal robed figure appeared once more, a cruel smirk on his face. The keeper has chosen. The cycle will continue. With a spine-chilling whisper, he gestured, and the forest seemed to shift, walls closing in. Lucy felt the darkness descend, an abyss promising to devour them both. She was out of time. With one final, desperate surge, she lunged forward, grabbing Jake's hand, fighting against the magnetic pull encircling them. But before she could pull him back, a burning pain shot through her grasp. She gasped as shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, shrieking that agonizing truth they both feared. The keeper was not just a name. He was a predator, and they were the prey. What will you sacrifice? The voice taunted as the light dimmed. Just when she thought hope was lost, a sliver of brightness shone from the depths of the dark, an invitation to resist. Lucy locked eyes with Jake, and in that enchanted moment, she realized he might not be the only one trapped in this nightmare. The keeper was hungry, but she would not surrender without a fight. Suddenly, the shadows lunged like a pack of wolves. In the arms of darkness, Lucy faced the ultimate choice, one life or both. But where would the devotion lead in the end? Jake's grip felt cold, lifeless against hers, as if the shadows were siphoning his warmth. The world around her warped, the trees towering like ominous sentinels. The air thickened with despair, pressing against her lungs. She gasped, the fear clawing its way up her throat. Jake! She pleaded again, not realizing how close she was to hysteria. But in his vacant stare, she saw nothing resembling her son. Only an echo of the boy who once laughed freely. Make your choice, Lucy, the robed figure whispered, his voice curling around her like smoke. The shadows writhed, hungry. They wanted her, but Jake was the price. Swallowing her fear, she shouted over the din, "You can't have him. I won't let you take him." As if reacting to her defiance, the ground surged upward, roots twisting and curling around her legs, anchoring her in place. The keeper's laughter boomed through the clearing, harsh and frigid. You think you still have power here? You are nothing but a moth. Considering the flame with a surge of adrenaline, she tugged on Jake, hoping against hope that his spirit remained locked somewhere beneath the muddled haze. Fight it! She urged, desperation bleeding into her voice. Suddenly, his eyes flickered, a spark of awareness igniting in the depths of that void. Mom, I don't want to leave. Her heart shattered at the weight of his words. The forest hushed, the shadows leaning in, waiting, anticipating her decision. Lucy felt the threads of reality linger precariously as they trembled between love and despair. What would she sacrifice? I'll give you anything, she breathed, knowing full well the darkness relished in bargains. Just let him go. The keeper stepped closer, tilting his head. Anything? Do you truly know what that means? His grin widened, revealing teeth like jagged stones. The air thickened with malice, and with it came a wicked thrill of power that wrapped around Lucy, enticing her into its embrace. This cycle demands a fresh offering, he spoke, voice dripping with temptation. Stop! She shouted, raising a hand instinctively, gripping Jake tighter. You will not take him. The ground rumbled violently, roots clawing at her sides like grasping hands. She felt panic rising, flooding her veins with ice. Time was running out. Jake's hand felt lighter, slipping. No! She soothed, stay with me. Remember the time we went fishing? Your first catch? The trickle of light in Jake's eyes faltered, lost within the shadows. I don't remember, he muttered, the smile fading into confusion. His brow furrowed, struggling against an unseen force. Focus, Jake. Focus on me. Her heart raced as she fumbled for memories, anything to keep him tethered. Remember how you loved peanut butter cups? Your friends at school? You loved to build things. Please, don't let them take you. The shadows twitched and snarled, the keeper's face becoming darker with rage. You will regret this defiance, he warned, his voice a low rumble that threatened to consume her. I care too much, Lucy whispered defiantly. And then something snapped. The brightness she had seen before flared up again, illuminating the clearing in a radiant glow. The symbols carved into the trees pulsed with energy, vibrant and invigorating against the encroaching darkness. Fight, Jake! She screamed, straining against the binding roots. With a final rush of clarity, a brilliant surge erupted from Lucy, a wilting flower in the face of a raging storm. The ground trembled in response, a direct confrontation of light and shadow. The keeper hissed, a sound twisted with fury as the roots loosening their grip, but before the light could envelop them both, a piercing scream echoed through the trees. From the depths of the shadows, shapes began to wriggle and twist, smaller figures drawing closer, faces contorted in agony. Were they victims of the keeper? Lucy! Jake cried, his expression tormented. Mom, help them! And just as that realization struck, Lucy felt the seeds of doubt creeping back in. She couldn't sacrifice Jake's life to save them, but could she really turn her back, the very fabric of her reality? Trembled as she faced the keeper, whose rage swirled like a beast ready to strike. Would it be enough to save her son, or had she already sealed their fates? With time slipping through her fingers, Lucy had to make a choice. But in this game of shadows, would any choice be good enough? The trees whispered their dark secrets, ready to claim the next unwitting soul. With a jolt, the roots released their grip, retreating like beaten snakes, but the tide of darkness surged forward. Shadows twisted into grotesque forms, stretching across the clearing, gnashing teeth, and burning eyes. The keeper roared, a sound tearing through the stillness, drowning out all hope. No! Lucy yelled, voice fragile against the chaos. She turned to Jake, who still looked lost, confusion clouding his features. Look at me. Please, stay with me. The shadowy figures surged toward the crying souls trapped in this sinister rift. Desperation gnawed at Lucy's heart. She could feel the chill creeping back into her son's hand. The urgency clawed at her gut. Would he fade into the abyss? Help us! A voice wept from the shadows, twisted and forlorn. It echoed like a wail through the trees, sending shivers racing down Lucy's spine. The entangled spirits, faces mere whispers of who they once were, clawed at the edges of Lucy's mind, pulling her towards a growing darkness. She could see their pleading eyes, yearning for freedom, yet knowing it might cost her everything. Jake! She cried again, desperation spilling into her words. Don't listen to them. Fight back. But the keeper only grinned wider, teeth glowing like shards of bone in the dim light. Let them have her, boy. Let them save you. Lucy's heart thundered. She couldn't let either of them succumb to this hellish game. Summoning every ounce of will, Lucy pressed forward, pushing the shadows back, fighting against the tide of despair threatening to engulf her. No! She screamed, clenching Jake's hand tighter, willing him to connect with the love she poured into every word. We can fight together. Remember the fort we built? The treehouse? How we laughed when the storm came rolling through. Jake's brow furrowed, shadows skimming over his features like dark water. I don't know, he stammered, voice faltering. A pang of sorrow hit Lucy. The shadows fed on his doubt, licking at the light in his spirit. You do remember. You're stronger than this. The laughter we shared, the promises we made. Remember your birthday cake, the candles, the wishes. The ground trembled, another roar erupting from the keeper. His power surged as if fueled by Lucy's desperate plea. The trees creaked ominously above, their branches twisting like clawed fingers reaching down. Your love is a weakness, Lucy. He spat, bitterness dripping from his voice. It will doom you both. Love isn't weakness. It's the only strength we have. She shot back defiantly, feeling the glow of determination pulse through her veins. She refused to let the shadows beat her. The trees paused, a flicker of uncertainty snaking through the darkened air. Jake's eyes suddenly shimmered with recognition. I can feel you, Mom. I can fight. As if commanded by some unseen force, the spirits around them surged forward, their souls igniting in a dazzling array of light, reflecting Lucy's pulse of hope. Together, they flooded toward the keeper, illuminating the clearing with a blinding flash. No! He screamed, retreating into the shadows that writhed like a serpent in fear. But even as the light grew, Lucy felt the wave of darkness clambering over her, relentless and heavy. Fear pooled in her stomach. This was just the beginning. The keeper stumbled, furious and desperate, but his strength remained formidable. You will pay dearly for this, you will all pay. Her heart sank. Jake stepped forward, determination blazing like wildfire in his eyes. Let them go. All of them. Suddenly, the darkness clashed with the light, an explosion of sound and fury that shattered the silence. Lucy shielded Jake with her body as shadows whirled, piercing their sanctuary. Trust me, Mom. He cried, and for a split second, she saw the boy he used to be. A flicker of joy buried under panic, but would it be enough? As the light dimmed and shadows surged back, winding tighter around them, she knew they were on the precipice. The keeper choked back his fury, eyes narrowing with malice, furious at the defiance now radiating in the clearing. What will you sacrifice? He intoned, voice dripping with menace. Lucy realized with gut-wrenching clarity her choice was looming. Would she give up the only thing left herself to save him? As shadowy hands reached for her again, wrapping around her form, she felt the question linger in the very air. The screams of the trapped souls echoed ominously as uncertainty hung heavy in the air around them. What would she decide when faced with the abyss? The shadows pulsed and writhed, their claws tight around Lucy as she fought to breathe. Panic surged through her veins, a panicked symphony that drowned out the whispers of the lost. She closed her eyes, focused on Jake's presence, the warmth of his hand. No darkness would take him. Jake! She roared, desperation creeping into her voice like vines around a tree. I don't know how to fight this, Mom. He cried, tears streaming down his cheeks, silhouetted against the terrible maw of shadows. It's too strong. The keeper's laughter echoed, distorted and filled with glee. You see? You're losing him, Lucy. His spirit is crumbling beneath the weight of despair, while you stand helpless. No! She screamed into the darkness, forcing the words through the choking dread. Jake, listen to me. As if summoned by her voice alone, the spirits of the forest began to swirl, caught between the light and the dark, their ethereal shapes flickering like fragile candles. Lucy's heart raced even faster, a drumbeat against the nightmare. Remember the stories I told you? She pleaded, willing him to latch onto any memory. The brave knights, the strong heroes? You're my hero, Jake. You can fight. We can fight together. Jake's eyes locked onto hers as the keeper shrieked in frustration. He desperately clawed at the ground, trying to regain control of his minions, but something shifted in the energy around them. Lucy felt it, a crackle of resistance. I remember, Jake whispered, his small voice thick with emotion. You always said love is stronger than fear, yes. Lucy urged, hope reigniting with each of his words. You are stronger than any darkness. Let it go. The shadows hesitated, their foundational strength wavering. With every breath, Lucy willed her love to seep into Jake's spirit. He took a step toward her, the first steps of armor forming around his resolve, but the keeper unleashed a furious roar, flipping the tide back. You think you can defy me? Feel the weight of their anguish. The ethereal faces of the trapped souls morphed, eyes wide with torment. Their cries rose in a chilling crescendo that enveloped the clearing. Lucy felt her strength fade as their despair pressed upon her, as if trying to claw her into the darkness. Stay with me, Jake. She shouted, clutching his hand tight. Don't listen. Together. With newfound ferocity, Jake straightened, fury igniting his features. Get away from my mom. He yelled, voice rising in defiance. Light flared suddenly, tiny sparks dancing around them like fireflies. The spirits glanced around, gripped by an urge to join in Jake's defiance. Lucy's heart raced, could they turn this tide? Fight, my children! She cried, heart pounding against the encroaching shadows. Remember your strength! From the depths of the darkness, a great hiss filled the air. The shadows twisted in agony, clawing back as if stung. No! You will all suffer for this truth. The keeper bellowed, but for the first time, there was vulnerability lurking in his voice. The light washed over the clearing, illuminating the twisted forms of the keeper's minions. They shrieked, shadows collapsing under the brilliance of unity. Lucy felt the power of the spirits reflecting hope right back at her, pushing through the veil of despair. As they spiraled toward the keeper, he bared his teeth, fury and desperation merging. You dare defy me? He roared, readying his shadows for one last assault. Lucy felt it, she could sacrifice her heart, her essence. But would it be enough? The roiling chaos thrummed with unbearable tension, threads of hope entwined with dread. Would love truly conquer all, or would it weave their destruction? With the air thick with uncertainty, she closed her eyes once more. What if love wasn't enough? In that moment, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and for the first time, Lucy feared for her son's future more than her own. What price would they pay now? The earth shook violently, as if echoing Lucy's terror. It was a warning. A low growl rolled through the shadows, gathering strength like a storm. The keeper's form twisted, a grotesque marionette wrapped in darkness, eyes glowing with malevolence. Foolish mortals! He spat, but his voice wavered, betraying a crack in his monstrous facade. You will pay dearly for your defiance. The shadows will consume you. Jake let out a roar, raw and unyielding. We won't let you. The light from their combined hope flared, erupting like a sunrise piercing through a stormy night. The spirits, emboldened by Jake's rebellion, flew toward the keeper, a dazzling wave of light against the bitter cold of despair. Lucy felt it, too. A growing warmth in her chest, building a shield around her heart, but the shadows lashed back, shrieking and howling. They coiled around Jake and Lucy like snakes, squeezing the air from their lungs. Each gasp felt heavier, the darkness laden with despair. The keeper advanced, a grin stretching across his face, filled with malice. Feel the chill of their sorrows. Embrace their endings. Lucy's breath caught. The faces of the damned twirled around them, endless torment flashing in their hollow eyes. Her heart sank, memories of lost dreams swirling like autumn leaves in a tempest. How many had fallen prey to this creature's hunger? No! You're wrong! She screamed, struggling against the smothering grip. We can still fight. The spirits whipped around her, drawn by her conviction. The night began to crackle with energy, building like thunder. She reached deep inside, searching for a glimmer of strength. The warmth of Jake's hand grounded her, anchoring her despite the terrifying tempest surrounding them. Together! Jake shouted, summoning every ounce of courage. Together, Mom! With a roar that shook the very air, Lucy poured her essence into Jake, sharing her power, her love, conjuring all they had ever fought for. Their spirits collided with the shadows. Light exploded, a consuming burst that shattered the mist of darkness. But the keeper howled, rage echoing through the woods. You think you can erase despair? It's woven into all that live. Suddenly, an unbearable chill embraced them, snuffing the light like a blown candle. Lucy gasped as jagged pain ran through her. The keeperess figure loomed larger, pulsing with energy as it drank from the depth of their fear, soul by soul. Let go, Lucy. Let go. He taunted, reaching out with claws made of shadows, looking to steal their hope, yet Jake's grip tightened, grounding her. Lucy's memories of laughter and warmth erupted within her, vibrant and alive, swirling through her. Fear twisted into determination. No! I will not give in. The shadows screamed as if pierced by an unseen blade. As their pain resonated, the spirits drew back, joining Jake and Lucy's defiance. They surged forward, creating a wall of light against the darkness, an unbreakable bond of love and memory. But then, the keeper unleashed his final fury. He screamed, the noise shaking the ground, splitting their world, a screen separating light and dark while darkness began to crawl back, invading. Embrace your end. Suddenly, the ground beneath Lucy and Jake broke apart, a gaping chasm ripping through the soil, yawning wide with teeth of shadows. And all Lucy could think was, had they just made it worse? With a sudden pull, the abyss started to swallow them. Mom! Hold on! Jake shouted, panic echoing in his voice as they slipped closer to the edge. I want to let go. As darkness threatened to consume them, Lucy clung tighter, feeling the threads of their love fraying, but could they truly hold on against the darkness? And then she realized, what if the only way out lay through the heart of despair itself? What if the cost was more than they could afford? The ground convulsed again, and with every tremor, they were closer to falling into the unknown. What awaited them below? Lucy gasped as the ground bucked violently beneath her, the abyss growing wider, greedier. Every second felt like an eternity as panic clawed at her heart. Gripping Jake's hand tighter, she glanced at him, desperation swimming in his wide brown eyes. Jake! She shouted, her voice cracking. We need to, but the shadows clawed at them, gnawing at their resolve. The keeperess laughter fizzled in her ears, mingling with the howling wind that whipped around them. You think you can escape? You're already lost. He sneered, the darkness pulsed. Lucy felt it, a living thing breathing down her neck, wrapping around her like a creeping vine. It made her skin crawl. She had to focus, had to think. Jake, listen. We have to fall, but we can fight back. Her words spilled out, frantic yet determined. His eyes narrowed, understanding dawning. Together like before? Yes. Remember the light. She reminded him. We can harness it, even in despair. The ground rumbled angrily beneath them as they both glanced at the yawning chasm below, where shadows writhed and beckoned. Lucy's gut twisted with an instinctual fear, but she steadied herself. What if we jump? Jake suggested, voice barely above a whisper, fear shivering through him. Yes. It might be our only shot. They exchanged resolute glances. Abruptly, the keeper loomed closer, shadows swarming around him like a dark halo. Foolish mortals! You can't run from your fate. With a final breath, Lucy nodded. They lifted their feet, pushing off the jagged edge. Falling, it felt like flying for a moment. All they could see was darkness swallowing them, an all-consuming tide. And then, with sickening force, they hit a layer of cold, hard ground. It felt different, still dark, but something shifted around them, pulling them back from the brink. The ground trembled again, but this time, it didn't feel like despair. It was something else, a heartbeat beneath their feet. The shadows receded slightly, revealing faint glimmers of light in all directions, illuminating an ethereal forest, ghostly and warped like a nightmare given form. Where are we? Jake stared wide-eyed. The trees towered overhead, their bark twisted and gnarled, shapes shifting in the twilight, whispered conversations swirling through the air like winter smoke. I think we're still in the Keeperess realm, but something feels off, Lucy mused. Suddenly, a voice broke through the trembling silence, soft and melodic yet laced with malice. Welcome, children. They spun toward the source, a figure draped in flowing white, its features obscured by shadows, gliding toward them. You have crossed the threshold. Few return from the Keeper's embrace. Why do you trespass? Sweat trickled down Lucy's back, tightening her grip on Jake's hand. We seek to defeat him, she declared, though doubt wrapped around her heart like a shackle. The figure tilted its head, a smile ghosting through the shroud of darkness. Very noble. But here, in the shadows, every choice comes at a cost. Lucy's heart raced. What cost? The air grew thick, charged with electricity, as shadows swirled around them, whispering secrets in tongues lost to time. Despair tightened its hold like a rusted chain, dragging them toward an unfathomable fate. What do you want from us? Jake asked, his voice trembling. A laugh, light yet sinister, echoed through the darkness. To find the Keeper, you must confront your deepest fears and lay bare the truth of your hearts. Only then will you break your chains. Lucy shuddered, feeling her pulse quicken. What if we refuse? Refusal grants him power to drain your light. Choose wisely, little ones. Time ebbs away, and shadows wait to feast. As it turned to fade into obscurity, Lucy and Jake shared a glance filled with urgency and dread. The weight of the choice pressed down on them. Shadows began to surge anew, crawling closer and closer, eager for their chance. What truth would they face? And could they really defeat the Keeper before the darkness consumed them whole? Mom, we have to decide now. Jake shouted, urgency clouding his voice. But as they prepared to move, an unsettling realization hit them. Something stirred within the shadows, deeper and more sinister than the Keeper himself. What lay beyond their worst fears? The shadows pulsated around them, thick and dark, twisting into grotesque shapes that leered and taunted. Lucy felt the weight of dread pressing against her chest, each heartbeat echoing in the silence. We can't stall. We have to face this, she whispered, trying to quell the rising tide of panic. What if it knows our fears? Jake's voice broke. He looked like he might crumble under the pressure of the forest's weighty silence. What if it uses them against us? Then we'll have to be stronger, she replied, forcing courage into her own trembling voice. Hope can be a weapon, remember? But doubt crept in, curling around her heart like the tendrils of shadow, and she felt the oppressive atmosphere thicken, wrapping around them. Suddenly, the tree branches above them rustled, the leaves whispering secrets in languages she couldn't understand. A low growl vibrated through the air. Lucy and Jake stepped back instinctively, fear gripping their throats. Face your fears, the voice from before sang, almost sweetly. What do you truly fear? Can we just run? Jake shouted, desperation rising. But the trees shifted, their fragrant wood morphing into monstrous silhouettes. The Keeper's laughter echoed again across the clearing, his presence felt in the chill of the air. Don't let him win! Lucy yelled, gripping Jake's arm. Think of something that brings you strength. Jake's eyes darted nervously. But do it! Focus! He took a faltering breath and squeezed his eyes shut. Lucy watched as realization flickered in his expression, the memory of warm summer days spent in their backyard, laughter shared with friends, moments of joy. I see it. He gasped, opening his eyes wide. Lucy, it feels bright like a flame. Yes. Keep it close. She followed suit, summoning a feeling that felt like home. Light flooded her mind, sunlight filtering through trees, the smell of her mother's cookies, laughter shared with family. The shadows recoiled slightly, stretching and twisting away from the warmth they summoned. The ethereal glow surrounding them pulsed in rhythm with their hearts, adding weight to the air, but also a flicker of hope. Together, Jake! Lucy urged, her voice gaining power. The shadows screeched, frantically trying to envelop them, but flickering lights pushed back, glowing fiercely against the dark. Suddenly, a scream erupted from somewhere deep within the forest, distant yet piercing, sending ripples of terror through them. It reverberated against the twisted trunks, the trees groaned as if they were lamenting a loss. What was that? Jake gasped, fear cracking through his bravado. Whatever the keeper feeds on, Lucy whispered, dread pooling in her gut. If we don't confront our fears now, the shadows will take us like they took whoever that was. With newfound determination, they pushed forward, hearts racing, trying to keep the fear at bay. The landscape twisted around them, branches reaching like skeletal fingers, the air thick with the stench of decay. Echoes of lost souls echoed through the mist. Lucy, I don't know if I can do this, Jake's voice trembled. You can. We can. Remember the light. She reiterated, as panic surged anew. Suddenly, the shadows converged, swirling in a tempest of darkness that threatened to drown them. Faces appeared in the dark, mournful expressions twisted in pain, eyes filled with unshed tears. With each flicker, Lucy felt an overwhelming wave of sorrow crash over her. Face it, Jake. What's in your heart? Lucy shouted over the chaos. I don't know. My fears are so dark. I'm scared I'll be alone. He cried, the words barely making it past his lips. No. You are not alone. Lucy's heart thundered. I am with you. No one can help you. The voice sneered, rising to a chilling crescendo, shadows looming larger. You'll be trapped here forever. A dreadful stillness swept over them, the threat hanging in the air. Together. We can shine past this. Lucy yelled fiercely, squeezing Jake's hand as tight as she could. But the shadows hissed menacingly, drawing closer. What awaited them in the darkness? Would they truly find a way to break their chains, or would the Keeper's realm consume them? Mom, I can't hold on. Jake cried, and she knew the shadows weren't just lurking, they were ready to strike. With dread welling in their throats and uncertainty creeping in, they braced for the confrontation of a lifetime. What powers lay hidden in their past? And could they illuminate the truth before the darkness swallowed them whole? They pushed forward, Jake's grip tightening on Lucy's hand, both trembling as they fought against the darkness pressing in. The air crackled with tension, a suffocating blanket woven from their fears. Shadows swirled closer, morphing into shapes that whispered of torment, memories of despair clawing at the edges of their minds. Lucy, what if it shows us things we don't want to see? Jake's voice barely rasped above the undercurrents of dread surrounding them. Then we'll fight it. She countered, though doubt licked at her resolve. The shadows seemed to pulse, vibrating in anticipation, thrumming with chaos. The trees groaned, gnarled branches twisting menacingly as if reaching out. Lucy felt a pull, a tugging at her core. Images began to unfold, dark and haunting. An old house of flickering light, her younger self, left all alone, forgotten. The weight of that memory clutched coldly at her heart. Lucy! Jake shouted, fighting against his own torment. Whatever it is, we can't let it get in our heads. It's trying to twist the truth. She yelled back, struggling to keep the warmth of her light alive. Remember who you are. Remember us. The shadows laughed, a cacophony of tortured voices spiraling around them. They were never safe. You're never safe, they hissed, morphing into reflections of their deepest fears, laced with bitterness and loss. Lucy felt her resolve harden. Jake! Think of our families. Think of the love and warmth. Hold on to that. But the shadows encroached with urgency, the air thickening, both of them teetering on the edge. Another scream echoed through the air, a mournful wail that twisted like a knife in her stomach. No, not again. That can't be, it can't take anyone else. Lucy clenched her teeth, her heart racing. Lucy, we need to run, Jake urged, his eyes wide with despair. The Keeper is using this against us. No. We can't let it win. She shouted, the fire in her chest battling against the dread clawing at her throat. She took a step forward, centering her focus, searching for that light within. With a sudden jolt, a flash of brightness burst through her memories, her mother's laughter at summer picnics, the old swing set creaking in the warm breeze. It's there, Jake. Just close your eyes and remember. Jake squeezed his eyes shut, searching through the chaos flickering across his mind. The shadows screeched, shrieking in frustration as their light began to push them back. Blood-curdling growls echoed, resonating from deep within the forest depths, but darkness lashed out fiercely, wrapping around them like serpents. Lucy gasped, the tendrils cold against her skin. They were drawing away their light. Their warmth was fading. "Think of the fire!" she screamed, a desperate plea as she felt Jake's grip weakening. "Imagine it! Feel it burn bright in your heart." Suddenly, a surge of warmth enveloped them, ignited by their connection. Glimmers of light exploded outward, illuminating the forest around them as fiery tendrils of hope coursed through. The grotesque faces faded, though shadows still writhed, hissing in wrath. "Fight back! We are not alone!" Lucy shouted, spectacle igniting her determination, but it was too late. Something massive shifted within the darkness, a figure emerging from the depths, cloaked in a swirling mass of shadows. "Foolish children," the keeper's voice thundered, freezing them in place. "You think you can conquer your fears? You are bound to this realm. You are already mine." As those words struck like a knife, a tremor raced through the ground, sending chunks of earth splintering beneath them. And just before they could react, the keeper's powerful grip latched onto Jake, pulling him backward. "Let him go!" Lucy screamed, churning in desperation. In that heart-stopping moment, a burst of light spiraled from her core. Jake was torn away, and as darkness closed in, their connection felt like a thread unraveling. Would their bond be enough to shield them from falling into the abyss? And could Lucy save Jake when the keeper's south shadows loomed so close? The keeper's laughter echoed, chilling her to the bone. Would hope prevail, or would they be ensnared forever in the clutches of fear? The shadows loomed around them, oppressive and cold as if they were living, breathing things. Lucy struggled against the darkness, her heart hammering in her chest. "Jake," she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. In that moment, it felt as if time had frozen, the chaos of the forest swirling around them like a storm of despair. Suddenly, she felt a jolt of determination surge within her, and with it, a memory ignited. The laughter of her son, the joyful sounds of summer days spent together, echoed in the recesses of her mind. "Remember our days at the lake," she shouted, her voice slicing through the darkness. "The way the sun glinted off the water? The fun we had fishing, just you and me?" As she spoke, she felt the shadows recoiling as if struck by a steady light. Each memory spun into a vibrant element of her resolve. Lucy locked eyes with Jake, who stood trembling but determined. "I see it, Mom. I remember. Then we fight together. We won't let him take us." Lucy screamed, feeling the heat of defiance blazing in her heart. She squeezed Jake's hand tighter. The bond they shared ignited a brilliance that cascaded through the clearing, illuminating their surroundings and pushing back the encroaching shadows. With newfound embers of strength, they pushed forward, but the keeper roared a terrible laugh, drawing the shadows tighter around them. "You really think such feeble sentiments can save you? You are battling the inevitable," he howled, darkness fuming and swirling like a tempest, but Lucy knew better. With each cry for Jake, memories danced in her mind, laughter shared, hugs exchanged, promises fulfilled. "Fight back, Jake! We are stronger together," she implored, her voice steady and unwavering. She could feel the warmth of his spirit latching onto hers. "I won't give in," Jake shouted, stepping forward, the light within him flaring brighter. "You won't take us!" The shadow screamed, twisting in agony, as if burned by the power of their bond. But the keeper's fury intensified, his form swelling with a swirling mass of darkness. "Your love is misguided. You think you can escape my grasp?" Suddenly, the ground trembled violently beneath them. The shadows surged again, desperate to engulf them. Lucy felt terror gripping her heart like a vice, but she pushed it aside. "We have to trust in our love," she urged, her voice brave even as fear pounded in her chest. Jake's eyes sparkled with resolve, a new fire within him. "Together!" he yelled, focusing on the shimmering light growing around them. Their hearts beat in unison, energies intertwining, glimmers flashing like fireworks bursting in the night sky. The keeper shrieked, recoiling, shadows shrinking back from the growing luminescence. With a final surge, Lucy thrust forward, her arms wide as if to embrace the light. "No more fear. "We defy you," she shouted, the rhythm of their hearts melding into a determined battle cry. Suddenly, the darkness trembled, rippling from their shared resolve. The keeper's expression twisted into one of pure rage and disbelief. "This can't be," he bellowed, stumbling back as their light surged against his shadows. "Feel the love!" Jake cried, his own voice amplifying Lucy's resolve. In a flash, the shadows screamed, tearing away from the radiant force that pulsed between them. The ethereal landscape of the keeperess realm cracked, splintering like a shattered mirror as the light surged forward. The forest twisted and shifted, consuming the dark all at once. The shadows dissipated into nothingness, a wafting mist that faded into the night. The keeper howled, his form dissipating, his frantic cries swallowed in the retreating darkness. As the clearing filled with brilliant light, Lucy and Jake stood together, breathless, hearts racing. The forest shimmered, the old cabin now bathed in warmth. The trees glowed faintly, the symbols glowing with purpose instead of dread. They had won. But victory came with a price. The memories of those trapped in the keeper's grasp lingered like echoes in the air, shadows of what had been. "We need to help them," Jake whispered, eyes wide with concern. "Even if we took down the keeper, they still need to be freed." Lucy nodded, heart aching. "They deserve their freedom. Together, we can reach them," she said, determination settling over her like a warm blanket. As they climbed back into the cabin, an overwhelming sense of hope enveloped them. They would not shy away from the shadows again. Instead, they would bring light to those still trapped, a guiding path through the darkness that lay ahead. Together, Jake whispered, squeezing her hand, a promise sealed in the unbreakable light of love. Suddenly, reality surged forward, combining hues of warmth and comfort. The old cabin stood alive again, nestled against the forest, whispering of tales to come, vibrant with memories renewed. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were protectors, keepers of their own fate, and in that moment, they stepped into a brighter future, united against the darkness. And now, this is your moment to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Want to share your thoughts? Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans like you understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.